You're going to need a few things for the install of these canopy mounts. Obviously, you're going to need the canopy mounts from Rago Fabrication. You can find these on their website at ragofabrication.com. You'll also need a flat-bladed screwdriver. This is going to be for the rail covers so that you can remove them. You'll need a 12mm socket. These will be used to remove the roof rails themselves. You'll need a 14mm socket. This will be for the larger hardware that connects the mounts to the roof rails. You'll need an 11mm socket. I suggest 11mm socket and an 11mm box wrench or a crescent wrench. This will allow you to put the small hardware onto both sides of the mounts. And obviously, you're going to need the appropriate size socket or box wrench for the bolts that come with your particular canopy. Mine had 13mm bolts, but different canopies may come with different hardware. Okay, the very first thing we're going to want to do is get up on a ladder and take off these end cap covers. So the easiest thing I've found to do is put a screwdriver behind the back side of this one, pop it out, and then roll the cover towards you. And it comes off. It's got clips here, and here, and here, and here. So we're going to put the screwdriver behind it. We're just going to push out. There it goes. Okay, that one's off as well. Next, we're going to take off the Toyota crossbars. Now, obviously, if you don't have these, you're not going to have to worry about this. But it's simple enough. With the end cap cover off on the rear on both sides, just unscrew the little knobs on each crossbar and slide them back, so they'll slide right off. Now we're going to use a 12mm socket and unbolt all 4 of the bolts that hold on to the factory rails. As you can see, where the bolts go, probably want to put some kind of sealant on there. They have some there right now, but I would suggest replacing it. Hardware, yay! Took the end cap off of the awning. We're going to go ahead and run these in here. Now I'm running these bolt side in with the nut on the outside. One thing I forgot to do was measure. That should be the first thing I did, but it wasn't. It's very adjustable after the fact, so I'm just gonna wing it. All right, go ahead and get these things bolted on. All the small hardware is going to be used to actually put this bracket together. 2 quick things when you're assembling these mounts. 1, you want to make sure that the bolts and the nuts face towards the inside of the mounts. This prevents the bolts from sticking outward and looking bad, sticking straight up, or going straight down and actually getting into the paint of your Forerunner. The second thing to note, the washers also go on the inside. The bolts themselves actually have a washer built into them. One other quick note, if you go ahead and put the rack rail inside the mounts before you bolt them together, then you can avoid the next step that I do, which is using a star tool or T30 Torx bit to disassemble the bar. To make it easy on myself, I'm just going to take these things off. So we're at a T30. Looks like the T30 is the right one. I don't know if you can see that. Next come the big mammagemas. These are the rail bolts. When your wife gets you a little ratcheted screwdriver like this, just tell her thank you and don't put it in your toolbox. The great thing about these brackets is that they're stainless steel. They're really strong, but because they're stainless steel, you're not going to ever have to worry about rust. So even if you end up scratching the paint or anything, you're not going to end up with rust spots. The hardware itself is also stainless steel. I'm going ahead and I'm mounting this all the way up because I'm going to lower it back down once I get it on there. All right, change out our socket here. Oops. Need a 12mm for the roof, and we'll get it put on. Because I left all the bolts loose, I'll be able to adjust it later on. It's important not to over torque these bolts because they're kind of going into your roof. One last big note. You'll notice I don't have anything on top of my roof protecting it. At the very least, I should have had a towel. One of the things that Rago Fabrication recommended to me is actually putting paper or cardboard or something between the actual roof rail and the roof itself. That way, if you have it mounted incorrectly, no matter what, you're protecting your paint. Don't do what I did. Protect your paint. Just a reminder for the Rome tint, this is a 13mm.